Whether you're a long-time fan of the comics or just a Marvel movie fan, there's no denying that the moment that Thanos finally gained all the 6 Infinity Stones in Avengers Infinity War was something every Marvel fan had been hoping for. To see the Gauntlet in all its glory in live action, it was definitely everything I was hoping for. Well, apart from the year-long wait that followed for Avengers Endgame. The Infinity Gauntlet is the symbol of ultimate power in the Marvel Universe. Fully loaded, it grants godlike powers to the bearer, and while deadly to many, it has been wielded by a number of characters in the comic books. When most people think Infinity Gauntlet, they think Thanos, but other beings have utilised the glove over the years. To name a few, Iron Man, Hulk, Captain America, Black Panther, Deadpool, Lockjaw, yes, that's the dog from Inhumans, and even Spider-Man have had the opportunity to rewrite the universe when needed over the years. Odin even keeps a replica in his vault in the MCU. Great retcon there, Fahey. The importance of the Gauntlet as a relic within Marvel's many universes cannot be understated, and the stories that surround it have been some of the most celebrated in comic book history. With the release of LEGO's new The Infinity Saga sub-theme, bringing to life a few of the iconic MCU moments that previously untouched, the reverence for the Gauntlet, as well as LEGO's ever-expanding selection of adult-targeted sets, it's unsurprising that one of the new sets is a buildable Infinity Gauntlet. Looking back over similar sets released over the years, the Batman cowl, the Venom Carnage, the Star Wars helmets, they've never really appealed to me as a collector, mainly because my primary focus is on minifigures and expanding my LEGO city. It's not that I don't like those sets, it's just been difficult to justify the purchase. And yet for me, at least, the Gauntlet grabbed my attention immediately and became a must-have. With that in mind, hopefully you've got an idea of where my mind is in terms of experience with these type of sets, plus the expectations of this specific set. The build itself took me about an hour to complete, but that was a good pace, and that was because I was immediately driven to see what the completed model looked like in all its glory. But 60 to 90 minutes is about right for a piece count of this size in my opinion. Split across 3 bags, the build process sees you building from the bottom up, unsurprisingly, because you need the base, followed by the underlayer of the glove itself, and then the golden outer layer, then the fingers, and finishing off with the Infinity Stones themselves. From reviews I've read about the aforementioned helmet build sets, the Star Wars ones in particular, this should be a fairly familiar construction process for anyone that has those in their collection. The similarities between the helmet-related sets continues in the build techniques used throughout the model, most notably in the large outer layer panels around the wrist, which connect to the vertical stand via suitably positioned clips. This allows for precise angling of the panels and in turn produces a much more source material accurate representation from the wrist down. The fingers themselves are the most interesting part of the build in my opinion. The complexity around the construction of the digits isn't overly mind-blowing, and yet the end result is impressively realistic. 3 individually built blocks of varying size are clipped together to simulate the knuckle points of a human finger, and so offer a good range of dexterity and posability to the Gauntlet. Also, despite what the packaging would have you believe, the fingers can actually be splayed for a more natural hand look. Speaking to a number of people in the LEGO community about this set, and one consistently shared view on the appeal seems to be the quantity of metallic gold pieces, something of a rarity for which there are no less than 153 of them here, ranging from 1x1 tiles through to the large 10x3x1 wedges. The striking gold elements cover the outer panels, and so much of the latter half of the build is dedicated to this, leaving the large panels with only a viewable hint of the dark tan bases underneath. Just to be clear, however, these golden pieces are only used on the outer layer of the model. There aren't any at all anywhere in the internal part of the construction. As I've already mentioned, the Infinity Stones themselves are the last thing constructed, and interestingly, each of them is slightly different in design. The 4 core Knuckle Stones are each 2x1x2 in size and differing designs on the top layer. The Power Stone, for example, that's the purple one, is just 2x1 pieces stacked, whereas the Space Stone, that's the blue one, has 1x1 slope pieces on a 2x1 piece. The largest of the stones, the yellow Mind Stone, is constructed by 3 layers of interwoven 2x1 pieces, some studded, some tiled, in an interestingly non-symmetrical design. Finally, the Time Stone, that's the green one, which sits on the thumb, is a 2x2x2 circular piece with a stud placed centrally on top. These subtle differences between all the stones might not be the first thing that you notice about the build, but much like their MCU counterparts, the gems have their own identity and design, and it's reflected well here. My favourite thing about this build? No stickers. The beautiful Infinity Saga tile, which sits at the base, is pre-printed, unlike those found on sets like the Jurassic Park T-Rex, the set with the big gate. So let's move on to the overall look of the build, and if we start with just the finished model, the golden pieces stand out beautifully against the black base stand and the dark tan underlying pieces. There's shimmer, there's a shine to this design that accentuates the visual quality of the design. It looks better quality than it actually is, if that makes any sense without sounding negative. Standing at an imposing 31 centimeters tall, that's base included, the finished model will not disappoint. It is genuinely glorious to behold, with every single one of the 590 pieces utilised to create a solid, sturdy looking model. Now, I want to put some emphasis on solid and sturdy, as there have been many examples over the years where LEGO designers have created beautifully intricate looking builds, but before long there's bits falling off due to weak connection points. The Infinity Gauntlet feels like it's solid plastic all the way through, despite each panel of the outer layer only being held to the base by a couple of clips. Height is one thing, but just returning to the size of the model to give you a better perspective, the palm and fingers match my hand almost like for like, so in terms of overall size, it's about the average size of an adult male hand. The model as a whole is fantastically well designed, with one of the most impressive aspects being how the large individual panels fit together on the base. From the wrist down, the lower half of the gauntlet is made up of 4 large panels and 3 smaller builds. All of these individual segments clip to the base at various points, but never actually connect to each other. Despite this, the gap between the panels on all sides is remarkably small and barely noticeable. It's exceptionally well designed and constructed down to the millimeters, and helps to create a very source material accurate layered look. The varying golden pieces are brilliantly used here to bring the panels which cover the gauntlet to life. Not 1 inch of this design is flat and bland, with 2x1 corner tiles used at different angles to create a stunning geometric pattern on the front and back. As I've already mentioned, the multi-hinged fingers allow for extensive dexterity, and so you have quite a bit of freedom in terms of how you want to display the finished gauntlet. Though I must say the middle finger pose has done the rounds on social media, and it's getting old very quickly. Personally, I prefer the snap pose, that's my first preference, though there's a couple of other potentials that interest me. Overall, an hour to build, a lifetime of joy. That is how I would describe the LEGO Infinity Gauntlet as a huge Marvel fanboy. This purchase was inevitable. This set does not disappoint, as it captures the elegance of the movie's version design perfectly. It's an imposing model. It does exactly what you'd expect an Infinity Gauntlet to do. It draws your attention to it in a room as the metallic golden pieces reflect the light around it. At just short of 600 pieces, it's fair to say that the cost per brick is just above average, and yet the set is definitely at a fair price considering there are so many rare coloured elements in this box. Marvel fans should be thrilled with this set. Thanos would definitely be pleased. Anyway, thank you very much for watching this video, my review of the LEGO Infinity Gauntlet. Please do subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, like the video if you've enjoyed it, and give me a comment if you've got this set or you're planning on getting it. Let me know what you think. Thanks for watching, bye bye.